Hey, Bob.
Hey,
Welcome, everybody. It's Carlos Castellanos, co-founder of Drawn by Success and creator of the Baldo comic strip. And I've got Bob Ostrom with me. How you doing, Bob?
wait a minute. I'm calling you out. I'm calling
Oh,
you out on your intro.
call me out. Call me out.
You're not the co-founder of Drawn by Success. You are the founder of Drawn by
The founder,
Success.
the one and only founder, yes.
So there you go. All right, off to a good start. Hey,
I
how
don't
you
know.
doing, Carlos?
Thank you for reminding me of what I do, Bob. It's important.
I'm in a great mood today, Carlos. I got
Really?
up early today with the kids. That's not the great part. I don't like doing that, but I went for a run this morning.
You go
So
running with the kids?
I did not go running with the kids. I dropped the kids off at school and then I went for a run. It was great. It was freezing cold out. It was like 33 degrees today. I got out there, I had my sweatshirt on, had my mittens on,
Mhm.
had tape going in the iPod, and I went out for a run. Man, it was the greatest thing. I
Wait
came
a
back.
minute. You're in North Carolina, right?
Yeah, I was charged up, man.
What's the temperature down
Look at me all fired up over here, Carlos.
there?
Temperature was 33 when I was out there. It was a little chilly. A little chilly. I got, but I'm used to that kind of stuff. I came from Connecticut, and I used to run in the wintertime all the time. And the thing that I hated about running in Connecticut in the wintertime is there's always snow and ice. So you'd be like, feet flying everywhere. It was a balancing act. Here, when I run, there's never any ice or snow, so I don't have to worry about that. The only thing I have to worry about is going through this little trail that I go through. It's a little treacherous.
Well, that's the one that you get lost in.
I got lost on. I fell down a couple times on this one. This trail will not beat me, Carlos. so I'm running through this trail, and it's one of those kind of things. You're high stepping, man. High step rocks and everything. It's like I don't know if you ever played football when you were a kid, but remember the tire drill? Like the whole run is like the tire drill. So I got out of there, man. I was charged up. So then I came back, and you weren't charged up. You were having a rough day. So today we're going to talk about time management.
Yeah. No, I mean,
What's going on, Carlos? What's got you down, buddy?
well, no, I mean, I'm not down. It's just that, you and I have talked over the last few weeks about I've kind of been falling behind on my schedule, and I've, there's a lot of things that I've been wanting to get done, and I haven't been able to get around to it, and it's just been a gradual slide, over the course of the last 4 or 5 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And this morning, I was able to catch up earlier this week. I was able to, really kind of wrangle in my time and really get stuff done, and really had actually a productive week. Finished a lot of things early. And starting yesterday, it started sliding back again. And then this morning, I got in here and said, okay, I'm going to prepare for the show, get everything set up. And I get in here early, and then my son comes in and starts asking me questions about different things, and then.
So you get distracted, you get pulled away, and next thing you know, half an hour's
I
gone.
don't want to get as excited as I was the first time I told you the story.
I'm talking you down, man. It's okay.
But no, really. I mean, it's just you're in here trying to do stuff. You got everything mapped out what you want to do, and then he comes in and starts asking me questions about stuff, which is fine. I mean, I have an open door policy. As you can see, the door's open. It's always open. So anyway, he comes in, asks me about something about social media, and because he's wanting to get into amateur. He wants to get into he's going to actually join his first amateur bodybuilding tournament towards the end of the month, just for experience,
Yeah, sure.
And he was talking to some guy at the gym that said that he can get some sponsors if he has a following and develops some social media stuff. And I've got a lot of social media programs here that he can take, and we've talked about using it and stuff like that. So he was asking me about it. So I said, well, I sent you some stuff, a couple of weeks back that I wanted you to go through, because I've been after him to start up his blog and start posting stuff about his exercises and shooting videos at the gym while he's doing certain exercises and stuff like that that he can do to start promoting what he's doing, because he really enjoys it. So he says, well, I can't find it. So I go to the room, and I'm looking. He's looking through his email, and he can't find it. And he says, oh, well, I was cleaning everything out. You must have thrown it away. Can you send it to me again? And I'm like, no, I can't send it to you again. I'm like in the middle of a bunch of stuff. So then I suddenly realized that I've been allowing people, family members.
Now wait a minute. You don't throw your son under the bus here. So this is what we refer to as the old thing is the time creep. It slowly kind of works its way in, and suddenly you feel like your time is getting taken away from you, and all the things that you wanted to do aren't getting done.
Yeah. So I mean,
right?
yeah. So basically, it's like you allow, but it happens so gradual
Mm-hmm.
that you really don't even realize it. And it's just little things like that that you normally are open to. But then, if you have, like, I have my agenda of stuff that I want to finish during the day, and I use a lot of time blocking. So I have a certain amount of time where I'm sitting on the computer and I'm going to do this task, and I'm going to be for 20 to 30 minutes, whatever it is, and I don't want to move from there until it's done. But lately, I've been allowing people to come in and interrupt those time blocks. So now what went from a well-structured, planned day, went to like a chaotic day when I'm kind of getting up, at the drop of a dime to go do something, and then something else distracts me and I go do something else. So I've allowed that to happen. So mostly it's been happening with the family members and some business colleagues that we've discussed about. But it's just so gradual that it took me finally to the point where I wasn't being productive, and I didn't realize where my time was going, and I couldn't understand why I was not getting the stuff that I needed to get done, and it's because I've allowed these things to happen. So anyway, sharing that with you this morning is like I just realized that, God, you really need to protect your time. I mean, your time is the most valuable thing you have, and there's so many things. And it's funny because in my coaching program, I talk of these things, and I've done everything over the last 4 to 5 weeks that I tell people not to do.
All right.
I've broken every single one of my rules.
So I'm coming from a place of unicorns and butterflies today, right? Because I had my motivational run, and I was listening to this very soothing motivational thing, So here's my advice to you, Carlos, for today. Go hug your son. Call up your clients. Tell them you love them.
It's all good,
and don't beat yourself up over it, because we all run into this kind of stuff.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's just the kind of thing that you really, just realize that it's so insidious. You really don't even realize when it's happening, because they're just small things, and you figure, okay, well, it's just one question or one little thing, but then you let someone veer you off just a little bit, and then while you're in the room checking his email or whatever it happens to be with a client or someone else, then there's something else, and then there's something else, and then before you know it, 30 minutes, 40 minutes have gone by, and then you come back, and now you're trying to figure out where you left off, and it's horrible. It's you can't be productive that way. And
so you're striving more for a proactive stance as opposed to a reactive stance. See what I did there?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got to. It's the same thing with checking email. I tell a lot of my clients not to check email. Well, they could if they want to, but I mean, I don't like checking email the first thing in the morning because it puts you in a reactive state.
Right.
And you're basically jumping through hoops on everybody else's agenda. You're getting all these emails, and it's basically everyone else's want you to do or what they want from you. And if you start your day that way, you're going to start jumping from one person's email to the next, following links, and you're on everybody else's agenda. You lose your agenda. So really, you need to become more proactive and really find out when the most productive day for you is. Usually the most creative and productive day for me is early in the morning, let's say between 6 and 10:30 or 11. Before that, I go to the gym, and then later at night between, let's say, 10 and 12 is really productive time for me. But you really have to protect your time. It's just we joke about it, but there's a lot of people out there that don't get around to doing things, and they don't realize why. And this is why. I mean, they're just little things that you just don't think about.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that you can do that might help out is to so where certain parts of your day that are going to be good for certain things. So you just program those things to happen at that time of day. So if you're working and you need to get actual illustration work done, you know that your best time is in the morning and then late at night. So you schedule those as your actual sit down and work time. And then the rest of your day is going to be, tending to those phone calls or the emails that you need to do. And you kind of, if you can compartmentalize those and have them be at times when you can actually focus on them without being distracted or whatever, that seems to be the best way to do things. And that's how I tend to do things a lot of times too, is I take care of all my email mid-morning, make all my phone calls, during the day, and then when I have to actually sit down and work, my best work time is like you in the evenings. And I go a little bit later than you do, but generally I know that I'm going to be most productive when it comes to drawing when I don't have distractions, and that's usually in the evenings after everybody's sort of gone off and done their own thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those things that and like you said, it happens to everybody. But the important thing is that you become aware of it. It took me a long time to really even realize what was going on the last few weeks, because again it's gradual, that it didn't feel like I was doing anything different.
Yeah.
Because I'm coming to the office on time, but I was allowing a lot of things to really steal my time during those hours that I was in here.
Yeah.
And usually, to tell you the truth, when I'm on my game as far as managing my time, when I'm in my time blocks, I don't answer the phone for anybody. A lot of times my mom will be calling and I don't even answer the phone. Until that time is done and I'm finished with my task, I don't do anything. I don't veer from it.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things. Like this morning, man, I had my task was to do this, and my son came in here, and I said, okay, well, let me just go check it out. And then he takes me to his email, and then, oh, you don't have the email. Can you send it to me again? No, I can't send you. I'm in the middle of something. Oh, where's that application for the tournament? It was up here. And I start looking for it. I'm like, what? This isn't the time.
Well, recognize it.
But then I said, wait a minute. When is it? You told me last night that you didn't even have to send in the application ahead of time. They were taking it the day of. He goes, yeah, but I just want to fill it in before. I go, well, then stop bothering me like right now. Why are you bothering me right now? The tournament isn't for like another 2 weeks, So
yeah, just do like everybody else does. Fill it out the night before.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, there was no purpose for doing that at that particular moment. But because he doesn't have a set schedule and he doesn't have a time block, because he's 18 and he just started college, and he's got forever to do stuff.
Yeah.
It just felt like a good time for him to start doing this, and it just wasn't a good time for me. So I allowed his open schedule to kind of dictate. Again, put me on a reactive state.
Right.
So you just got to be able to catch yourself when you're doing this, because it just goes from stealing 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. Before you know it, you're not getting anything done.
Yeah, well, just recognize it for what it is. I mean, that's that kind of thing I don't think is really the worst part of what we're talking about here. I think what we're talking about is just sort of managing your time so that you can expect those kind of things to happen and deal with them when they do. Because that's just the way life is. It comes. It comes when it comes. It doesn't wait for your schedule. It doesn't work itself into your day. You do have to react to it, and unfortunately, that's just the way things go. And
so you have a lot more control over your time than you think. I mean,
yeah,
Yeah,
but I mean, look, those little things happen. But I think the big picture here that we're getting at is that if you don't manage your time will manage you. And so, how do you want to handle things? Do you want to be in charge, or do you want to be just chasing everything all the time? So, when you get into that mode, when you start to feel like yourself slipping into that mode, I think the important thing is just to recognize that it's happening and then to address it. Rather than waiting until all of a sudden, it just snowballs and gets out of control. So, I think a lot of times when we start to get caught up in that circle, just like you said, it's sneaky. It kind of creeps up on you, and all of a sudden you realize, like, now, you're doing all these crazy things that you're not supposed to be doing, and you're wondering why your work isn't getting done or whatever, and you start to borrow time from that time that you had allotted to working on your project or whatever, and then it slowly creeps in, and all of a sudden it starts to overlap, and you're like, well, how did I get here? So I like the idea of maybe getting your head straight at the beginning of the week, and then maybe checking in halfway through the week and say, things going okay? Yeah, things are going all right. And by the time Friday rolls around, hopefully you've gotten all those things that you were supposed to get done. But if you didn't, I think that's another great time to kind of check in and say, okay, what did I get done this week? What do I need to get done for next week? Let's take a look at this, and then kind of chart your time out in blocks of time. And you do this too, I think. A lot of times when I'm working, I know I'm good for 45 minutes, maybe an hour of solid, really good, intense work. And then when I push beyond that boundary, I start to get distracted. I'll check Facebook, or maybe I'll pick up the call and see what's Carlos doing, that kind of stuff. And so I get distracted. And so what I try to do when I start to find myself waning from that project is put myself in a different place and start to work on something else that might be a better focus for my attention, to give myself a little break. So a lot of times, I'll take 10 or 15 minutes, I'll go hop on the couch, I'll pull up my course curriculum and I'll start working on courses or something, because it gets me in a different headspace and I don't feel like I'm forcing the work that I need to do. So I think it's a good idea to kind of to understand your body's ebb and flow and then kind of work with that. So when you have that productive time, you make the best.
And and another thing is that it's almost, I equate it almost to like budgeting your money. I remember a few years back my wife and I wanted to like prepare a mortgage and really get it down in the next few years and all that kind of stuff. So actually we're like 12 months away from finished paying our mortgage. So we're like,
nice.
But what we did was, like you said, is like when things go haywire, you're like left saying, oh my gosh, where did my time go? And you don't know, because you just don't realize how 1 minute turned to 10 minutes turned to 20, and before you know it, you've lost hours. So with the money, it's the same thing. I mean, when you're budgeting your money and you're really trying to really be tight with it, you have to jot everything that you spend down, down to the penny, for like maybe a week or two, to really get a real idea of how much is going out. And you have to do the same thing with time, because otherwise you just don't realize how much time is really going out the door. Mm-hmm. With the money, for example, there was like, when we were doing it, I remember there was like maybe $80 unaccounted for a week that we were spending, and it was just like cash stuff, this little things that you buy here and now. It's only $2 here, $3 there, and before you know it, it's a whole wad of cash. What I mean?
That's
so time is the same thing. I mean, when you're on an email, for example, and you're not allowing yourself a specific amount of time that you can be on there, or on the internet, checking Facebook or whatever, you can very easily follow one link. Okay, that's all. Oh, I'll follow this one. It's only how long can it be? A minute, and then so you spend a minute there, and then you follow something else, and then you get distracted again, and that just compounds on itself. Compounds, and before you know it, that's why everybody's like, oh crap, I've been on here for an hour. What have I been doing for the last hour? Because you don't know. So you need to be able to account for those little things. So if I want to manage their time or see where their time is going, keep a short list next to your computer and just see how much time log in, how much time you're spending on different things, so you get a real idea of where your time is going and where your time is being spent.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And I think another thing, and I know I've already kind of gone over this before, but I think another important thing is if you find yourself in that space, it's easy to really get down on yourself and to start to beat yourself up and get all depressed and wasted all this time or whatever. It's even another more of a waste of time. So cut that stuff out and just address it. Get right down to it and say, okay, that time is gone. There's no getting it back. Don't spend time regretting that wasted time. Let's focus on what's ahead. And right. So it's sort of like if you've ever been in a sailboat, sometimes you'll drift with the wind, and you got to tack back. So you're constantly readjusting your course, and so you check in every once in a while. I wanted to talk about the buddy system because I know we brought this up in the past. This is a good one, for the buddy system to kind of, when you get talking to your buddy and say, hey, here's something that's happening here. That's a good way to check it too, and have them kind of check in on you and say, hey, you remember that stuff that you were talking about getting done last week? How you doing with that stuff? Are you getting close? Is it, where are you at with it? Did you even look at it? That kind of thing. So it kind of, there's a little bit of responsibility that's built in with that, and I love that whole buddy system. I was talking to a couple of people about this last week, and we were talking about the accountability side of things. A lot of times we'll take a course or we'll want to start a new thing that we're going to try to do, or a new system we want to work with or whatever, and we get all excited about it at first, and then we start to stray. And I love the idea of having, to check in with somebody and say, hey, remember that stuff? Let's get on it, Right. So, yeah, so I'm thinking about bringing that over to the Bob Teaches Art site. I'm thinking about putting together like a little, a buddy system promotion for tutoring students, so we can pair them up and get them so that one holds the other accountable, and then they can check in with each other. And the other part that I love about it is they can help motivate each other too, So when you're on that buddy system, sometimes you start to feel a little down. You get you get to a point where you're beating yourself up. it's nice to be able to talk to somebody and them to just kind of get you back on track again. I think that's real important.
Yeah, that feedback is really good because a lot of times people will see things that you don't see. When you're in the midst of stuff, you just don't see it clearly, but other people can see it right away. Yeah, I mean, you have the Bob Teaches Art private group also for people that bought into your videos.
Yeah.
That they can do that there. For example, people that are part of that can do that. Set a time for learning. The different tools and different techniques that you're showing them there, and set aside time and goals for that. And also for the Drawn by Success fan page, if you're part of that, find someone in there and create an accountability partner, or just shoot a problem that you're having, just list it on there and post it and see what people come back with. So.
Yeah, I think it's real important to be able to, especially when you start to, when you get into that artist head. I don't know about you, but there's a lot of people who are in the field of art tend to spend a lot of time alone. So this is kind of a way to drag you out of that place that you sometimes wind up.
Right.
You like sometimes it'll be Wednesday, and I've realized that I haven't left the house in 3 days. I've just buried my head in this project, and all of a sudden I look up and it's Wednesday, and I'm like, well, how do we get here? Ready to kind of check in with you and pull you out of that space, I think is a great thing.
Well, the good thing about that too, I mean, on the tail end of that is that when you're with other people, sometimes when you're by yourself in your studio, you're moving at a certain speed. In terms of like getting your own stuff done, for example. I mean, it can apply to a bunch of different things, but getting your own projects done, for example, not client work, you tend to work at a certain speed. You're a little more cautious. You're a little more doubtful. You kind of plod along a little slower when trying to get those personal projects done. And if you get around the right people that are moving a little quicker and are able to nudge you along, you'll be able to start saying, oh, wow, these people are getting stuff from 1 week to the next. They've gotten this, and this done. Meanwhile, in the last couple of weeks, I haven't gotten anything done. It gives you a point of reference sometimes.
Oh,
to
yeah.
give you a kick in the butt and get you moving forward a little bit and get you out of that slow moving, that slow progression. Just having someone that's moving a little faster to kind of pull you along.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, and that's part of why I love getting together on Fridays with you, is because it's sort of a check-in point. A lot of times, you get in this space where you start to create self-doubt, or you start to think like, who am I to do this, or am I heading in the right direction? And so sometimes when you check in with people, and I think this is really the key to it, is make sure that when you pick this buddy, that you get somebody who's positive and motivated and is not going to be an anchor, to drag you down. You need somebody who is going to believe in what you're doing and to push you forward. You need somebody that's going to be behind you and pushing you the whole way and saying, hey, you know what, you can do this, and you're doing a great job at it. That's I think probably more important than anything else, is just to have somebody who's going to help motivate you. Because I know when I work on personal projects, just like you said, sometimes I'll get in there and I'll be like, oh, what am I doing here? I should be doing stuff that's going to pay me. And then I'll switch over to a client project or whatever. This stuff I think is important, and I think if you don't have somebody to help push you along, a lot of times it just kind of falls to the wayside. And so I think I mentioned to you, it must have been 2 or 3 years ago that I said to you, hey, Carlos, I want to teach online. And I just let that slide, and I let it slide, and I let it slide, and eventually, we started to talk about it, and in my head, as we reviewed the process and talked about what could be done and all that kind of stuff, all of a sudden it started to become a possibility rather than a dream or something that was put on the back burner. Yeah. And so that helped me to actually get in there and start to develop this thing, and so now it's become a reality, which is really cool. And that's, I think, a big part of finding the right person to help motivate you.
Yeah, I think the belief. Well, we've gone from time management to like belief in your project. Which
see what I did there? Like I pulled you into my motivational world today.
The way I see it, there's a couple of different reasons why we lose track of our time, right?
Yeah.
It's either because we allow other people, like what's been happening to me lately for the most part, is allowing other people chip away at my time.
Yeah.
And me not realizing and really giving them control over the precious time that I have. Because I mean, I have certain amounts of time during the day where I'm very productive, and then I got to go pick up kids, and and I've got the whole kids and taking practice and all that kind of stuff going on. That just kind of really dilutes my effectiveness. But then there's the other part that where you're not being productive and you're actually for distractions because you're not confident in what it is that you're doing.
Good point.
In the effect that it's either more work than you figure, or maybe you figure it's too much work involved. Anything else that you might want to be putting together, that you start looking for distractions. So that's internal. So you have the external factors, and then you have the internal factors. So if it's an internal factor, you have to really kind of figure out why it is that you're allowing other things to come in and distract you, or why you're looking for other things to do other than the one thing that you should be doing. And on a lot of that, finding the right people to support you in that is really, really important. I mean, you have to have people that believe that what they're doing is possible, and that what you're doing is possible. A lot of times we don't pursue things that we want to do, or that we say we want to do, because we don't believe that it's possible at some level. The work in, because we don't feel like the payout or the reward is going to be there for us. Right. So finding the right people to surround yourself with is really, really key.
Yeah, and I like that. I like where you brought that, because there was a lot of procrastination at the beginning, because it didn't seem like it was achievable. It just seemed like there was this giant mountain. There were certain things that were in the way. I didn't know how to do them. I didn't know how to address it. And so rather than focus on the task at hand, I would find other things to distract myself with. So that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, again, another great reason for the buddy system. So there you go. We're promoting the buddy system today. So yeah, I love that the idea of having that positive reinforcement behind you. It's so important. When you don't think that you can do something, it's not going to get done. And until you can get in the headspace where you can actually say, hey, I can do that, it's not going to get done. So, yeah,
and more importantly, why you want to do it. I think even like in my coaching program, we start off with a time management block, and then we move into why you're wanting to do something. And I think defining why you really want to do something is really key. I know most of us, because we're creative, we want to jump right into the actual doing of the stuff. But a lot of times, if you don't nail down why you really want to do something, that's when you get tripped up as soon as you hit a bump or a wall, and you start finding something else that'll veer you off, and you'll allow to distract you. Is when you don't have your why of what you really want to do and why you really want to do it. A deep why, not just a superficial why. In the coaching, we talk about 7 levels of why, like why you want to do this. Then you get the answer and say, well, why do you want to do that? And just really, really dig deep, because that's emotional why is why that's going to keep you going. And it's always going to be your compass leading you in the right direction as you're on your path. As soon as you lose your why, that's when you'll lose your focus.
Right. That's a good point. Well, these are some things I think that we'll probably bring up, again and talk about in depth a little bit more. I kind of like the direction that we took today. I like the idea of to check in and trying to figure out what's going on and why things aren't working. So I think we've got a good show here. Let's go ahead and wrap up. But before we do, I just wanted to just say hello to everybody and thank you to the people who joined me over at the teaching site for the last session that we did. Thanks for co-hosting that with me, Carlos. I really appreciate it. We had a great time. Yeah, I've got some more classes coming up. I think in the next couple of weeks I'm going to be launching the next one, so I'll keep you posted here.
See, this is all about the momentum, right? You got the first couple of videos. It took you so long to get there. Now you got the first couple of videos under your belt, and now you got the momentum. Now you feel like doing more and more and more. So it's great.
Well,
so it's going to keep you on track, keep that momentum going.
Yeah, it's really cool. And part of the thing that I really love about teaching those courses is when you start to reach people and you make these little changes for them that are going to just change everything, And that's such a really, I don't know, it's just a really cool moment, when when you when things start to click and you feel like you're actually helping people,
Right.
achieve a new level. So that's kind of the thing that's got me rolling now. So I'm on a positive mindset, from being able to do that stuff and being able to help some folks out.
Well, and that's a great thing. You don't get the feedback until you actually do something. So once you
Hmm.
start getting that feedback, I mean, you can start thriving. You can just start using that as fuel to keep the momentum going forward. So like one of the responses we had from one of the people taking the course I can't remember what tool it was that you showed, or what technique, it was like, oh crap, it's like,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
filter at that very moment. And it was like, that, those are things that are cool, but you don't experience that until you make the commitment to follow through and finish on your commitment of producing what you want to produce. So and taking the time to do it. So
yeah, and I think it's a building process. So everything sort of, you look at where were you at this time last year, and I was looking at this thing and I was thinking, this is an impossibility. I don't even understand how to do this. So but every once in a while, you get a little break. So I was stumbling over, how do I present this material, and I'm sure that a lot of the people who are watching us now know Will Terry, the illustrator. I mentioned to him that I was struggling how to present this stuff, and the guy, he gave me almost an hour of his time, and he went through and he said, this is how I do it. This is the process that we use. This is how I present stuff. I'll meet you online and show you how it works, and when unless you get out there and you start putting this stuff out there, that's never going to happen. Like, Will Terry isn't going to call me up on the phone and say, hey Bob, I heard you were thinking about teaching, let me show you how it's done. But when you get out there and you start to put yourself out a little bit, those moments do happen, And so I think that was one of the cooler things that happened to me along this journey, getting this thing up and into position,
yeah, I think you'll find too that once you start taking action and moving forward and actually doing stuff, you'll have more people come, the right people coming around to support you.
Yeah.
Because you're actually doing something. I mean, I've helped a lot of people in the past where they don't do anything with with the information given to them, and it doesn't make me feel great, because I see when I talk to somebody for 30 minutes, I see the potential that they have,
Right.
and you dig deep and figure out what it is that they want, and you can see how they can get there, and then they don't take the action to do it, so it's kind of disappointing. But when you see people actually doing it, that makes you want to help them more,
Yeah, and that's cool. And I think the coach in you probably wants to reach out and grab that person and say, let me help you, But unfortunately, if somebody doesn't want to be helped or they don't want to follow through with it, there's really not a lot more you can do with it.
Right.
But like you said, getting out there and getting that momentum going, I think is just a really positive thing. So
Yeah.
we'll keep that rolling.
Yeah. Cool. Very good. So anyway, if you guys have any struggles that you've had with time management, or anything you want to just get off your chest, I think we shared a couple of small things that you can do here. But I think being really aware of where your time is going is really key in regards to getting other people's work done or your work done. Even improving, like even taking the courses, Bob, that you had. I mean, setting time aside to learn something new. A lot of people struggle with, oh, I don't have the time for that. But if it's something that can help your business and help the way that, help your family and help your lifestyle, find a way to make it work, So just look a little closer into how you're managing your time, and you'll be able to squeeze it in. I mean, you make time for what you think is important. So, figuring that stuff out is well worth the time.
Yeah, and stay open. When you hear suggestions, make sure that you're willing to receive those too. A lot of times when we put information out there, people ask for, what do I do when this happens, or what do I do when that happens, and then you put the answer out, and they don't want to hear it. So keep an open mind when you're there, and just allow yourself to, to think about things a different way than you've been doing them in the past, and hopefully that'll help you.
Or stuff they've heard before and they just haven't done it. A lot of people do that. I find a lot of people. My teenager does that a lot. Actually, I find myself doing that. Doing that quite a bit sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes it happens.
You hear something, and then you say, well, internally, you just say, oh, okay, you dismiss it because you've heard it before. Yeah. But the point is, are you doing something with it? even getting back to the finance thing that we were doing years ago, I had heard about keeping track of your budget and all that kind of baloney. Well, who the hell wants to do that, really? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
I know. No.
and with the couple of times that I heard it, I said, oh yeah, I've heard that before. But I never really sat down and really did a detailed analysis of what was coming in, what was going out. And it wasn't until I did that everything changed, right? But until then, I had dismissed it because I had heard it before. It sounded too simple. Yeah, everybody talks about that. I'm looking for something shiny or more exciting. You know what I mean? There's got to be something more brilliant out there that I can do.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. It was just that simple task, but it was boring as shit, and nobody wanted to do it. so I never did it. But it wasn't until I did it that it actually changed everything for me. So it's the same thing with time management. Jot down your time, keep aware of it. It's something that these are things that it's not the first time you've heard it, but it makes a big difference on whether you're using it and whether you're not using it. So if you've heard it before and you're not doing it, then it's time to maybe do something with it.
There you go. All right, so let's wrap it up. So
Awesome.
yeah, thanks for joining us for another week of Hangouts, and we'll get together again next Friday and have some more stuff for you. Carlos, you want to tell people where to find you?
Yeah, people can find me on drawnbysuccess.com, and they can shoot me an email if they'd like at carlos@drawnbysuccess.com. They can leave a message or a comment here on YouTube or on Google+, wherever they're watching it, or on our drawnbysuccess.com page. If you guys would like to set up a time to talk, if you've got a particular problem regarding your marketing, I know there's a lot of illustrators out there kind of not sure which direction to go, a lot of changing times that we're experiencing right now. So if you'd like to get on the horn and chat with me for like 20, 30 minutes, shoot me an email at carlos@drawnbysuccess.com, and we can schedule some time together and maybe kind of set you in the right direction, or just kind of shoot some ideas back and forth. I'm always open to do that with you guys. So that's basically it. And then if you're interested in my Baldo comic strip, you can go visit Baldo Comics at baldocomics.com, and also go see it at GoComics.com/Baldo if you want to see it at the Universal Press Go site. So there you have it.
All right, and I'm going to give you an endorsement. If you guys, if you're struggling in your career and you need some help, definitely check out Carlos. He's got some really positive things for you to turn things around with.
Well, thanks, Bob. I appreciate that.
There you go, buddy. It's all sunshine and unicorns today for me, man.
No parakeets?
Parakeets.
All right, guys. Bob, thanks a lot. Nice talking to you last night, and nice talking to you today. We'll hook up later on the weekend, maybe, and catch up on some of other projects that we've got going on.
All right. Very good. We'll see you guys next week.
All right, guys. Thanks again for joining us. We really appreciate your time, and we really love doing these Friday Hangouts. Again, share your comments with us anywhere you're watching this video, and we love hearing from you guys. All right? Later. Until next Friday. Bye.
Wrap it up, buddy. Wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
All good, man.